let's take a look at how to implement user accounts. Meaning, right now we have been the sole user of our application, right? We interact with the front end talks to the server, maybe the server to a database, but it's always, just one user, just us. But we want to expand this so that any number of users can access our application, right? So how do we do that? And what we want to be able to do is a server that is aware of multiple users communicating with the server simultaneously, right? And I have a couple slides that explain what we want to be able to do. Session, maintaining session. Okay, there we go. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, so the problem here is that HTTP all by itself, is unable to remember anything peculiar about anyone that is accessing the application, right? It's totally stateless, and the server doesn't have a way to remember. But we do need to distinguish, right? So that if Alice is talking to me, right, about an algorithm problem, but then I have Bob talking to me about some movie that they saw and that they liked, right? How do I maintain two conversations simultaneously, right? So there was a clever solution to this, was to create a cookie jar. What is going on? A cookie jar, right? Where you would have the browser participate in a session with a server, right? That it would guarantee that it would pass a token, a unique identifier token, to the server, so that the server could discern who they were talking to, right? Or remember that this is the person who they have already have a discussion with, right? And that happens at the browser side, right? So the browser, right, the first time around, right? Say here's Alice, right? And Alice is visiting acme.com for the very first time, right? So she types at the browser, acme.com, and the browser says, and so the browser looks to see if Alice has anything stored in the browser about acme.com. Do we know anything about acme.com? Right? Before I let you go to acme.com, the browser is checking to see its notes, right? And checking to see, okay, well, do I know anything about acme.com? In particularly, what we want to know is, are there any cookies for acme.com, right? So cookies are just name value pairs, right? That are short in nature, right? Just a few lines or bits of text, right? And they're stored in the browser, and they're stored keyed off of the name of the browser that we downloaded that cookie from. Okay, so the browser is smart about this, right? It keeps track of all the cookies per browser, per domain, right? And so that it can pass the cookie for the right server. All right, so the first time around they come in, they don't have a cookie for it. Check to see if there's a cookie in the cookie jar, right? So because it's the very first time, the browser realizes that, oh, I don't have a cookie for acme.com, so that's fine. It makes a request nevertheless, and the server intercepts the request and realizes that you don't have any cookie. So that means that this is the very first time that we have talked to, right? That there's nothing to distinguish you from any other user, right? Except that because it's the first time, what the server does, right? The server creates a cookie. It says, I let you in. I'm going to add you with to my list of people that I trust, right? And I'm going to add you. I'm going to give you a cookie, right? That is going to be in the response, and then with an ID, and that ID is then stored by the browser in the cookie jar. Make sense? Right? Now, what happens the second time around? So the second time around, you come in, right? You hit browser with the URL of acme.com. So this time around, when it checks the cookie store, the user says, "Oh, I already did something with you. I wonder what it is." So they open up the data, right, to see, right, who they were, right. So again, we send the request to the browser. The browser finds that yes, there was a cookie from a prior request, and that cookie is sent over to the server. The server says, "Ah, I remember this cookie that I sent you. I created it." And so what it does is that it says, "You know what? And because you came back and I identify this cookie, I'm going to create for you an instance object that it's going to be your work spot, right? You can store some stuff in there. You can remember things in there, and that's per user, per cookie, right? Each cookie has its own copy, and it's what we refer to as the session, right? And then it responds back with the same cookie back to the client, to the browser, to store in the cookie jar. Okay, so that's the basic gist of it. Let's see, did this ever deploy? Okay, so it did deploy. All right, let's try it again. There it is. Do we have user? API users. Okay, there we go, right? Our server is able to access, right? It's able to access the the database. Perfect, it's connected. And in the front end side, did we deploy this? What branch are we in? Okay, we can go here and we can deploy this too. We created the people table and all that, right? So we're gonna add it. This is gonna be A6. Oh, wait, what branch am I in? Or we're branch A5. Git checkout minus B A6. We're gonna commit this to A6. Commit, we're gonna push. Okay. All right, so that's gonna kick off a deployment in A6. Let's leave it alone for a while. Let's continue. Let's see where my, okay, here we go. Yeah, so we know how cookies work, right? So let's use cookies, right? So we're going to use cookies, right, to be able to implement, signing in, signing out, having a profile, registering, things like that, right? So let's implement being able to sign in first, right? So the way sign in works is that I'm going to send you my credentials, your username and password, right? And you're gonna look me up in the database, right? If they match, right, I'm gonna retrieve the user by that username and password, right? And then I'm gonna store it in a variable to remember that you are logged in. Right, so let's do that. So in the DAO, we're gonna implement, find users by credential in the DAO. So did we do that already? Find users by credentials. Okay, here it is. So we did implement it. Find one users by credential. Okay, yeah, we did that already. And then in the route, we're gonna map it to sign in, right? So we're gonna post a sign in with our credentials, our username and password, and then we're going to pass it to our DAO. The DAO is going to look up for the data from the database a users whose username and password match. All right, so let's do that. So sign in. Oops. So let's see. Sign in. Wait. On the route, sorry. Yeah, in the route. So in the routes, here we go. We implemented already. Here's sign in. Okay, it's not implemented. Okay. Let's put that in. So basically what it does is that it's going to, I'm going to post the credentials. It's going to extract the username and password. It's going to look up for that person, see if their person exists, and it's going to store it in a local variable, right? And there it is. So it's remembering who's logged in. Now this implementation only allows one person at a time, right? Really, we want to have multiple users. So for that, we're going to need a session. But first, let's implement it this way, right? Just one user at a time. So this sign in is going to check to see if the user exists. If so, it's going to store it in a local variable, and I'm going to send it back to the client, right? Then once I have that, I can go back to the user interface, right, and create a client that is going to interact with the server, all about signing in, signing out, looking at my profile, things like that, right? So let's do that. Let's create a client under accounts, which I don't believe we have. So we have Canvas, account. So we never did have an account. Right, so this would be account. There we go. And in the clients, what we're going to do is that we're going to grab the reference to all where the server lives. Oops, am I missing something? This is a typo. What is this? I don't think we need that. There we go. Okay. So basically, I'm fetching the remote server from the environment variable, and I'm building a URL to the API that works with users, right? That it's the same URL that we used earlier to be able to create, read, update, and delete users, but this one is for signing in, okay? And so for signing in, I'm going to say it's API, users, and then sign in, right? And that's the post. Right? If it doesn't have sign in, then it means that I'm creating a new user, which I'm not, right? I'm signing in with an existing user, right? And I'm going to pass in the credentials. Then in a brand new screen, right? Let's implement signing in. So accounts. Okay. Oh, I guess I misspelled this. Okay. Account. And in here, we're going to implement the sign in. All right, there we go. Let's go over this real quick. So basically, these are two input fields. One that allows you to edit your username, the other one the password, and then clicking on sign in to send it over to the server. Okay, we have that. Now we need to display it. So to display it, let's add an account. So that just like this one, when you go here and you go to account, right, and shows who's currently logged in and things like that, right? Let's use that as an inspiration. So first we'll need a navigation. There it is. So let's implement navigation, which doesn't exist yet. And here, navigation. Oops. And let's implement this. So let's grab the code. There we go. Let's paste it in there. So basically, this is just a couple of hyperlinks, right? That allows you to sign in, sign up, or profile, right? And based on the path name, it'll highlight the correct hyperlink. And so we're gonna render this. We're gonna put this inside of our account.index above, right? Right below the account navigation that we just created seconds ago, right? So let's see. This is the account. Account. There we go. And paste that. Okay, so this is going to be our sign-in screen, which right now we only have sign-in, right? We don't have these yet. We don't have these yet. So I guess I should remove that because we don't have these just yet. We only have sign-in. And then we show that we're going to need a route in the canvas. We need a route to be able to display sign-in, right? So in our account index, yeah, we have the route, right? That if it's /sign-in, it displays the sign-in. All right. And notice that I'm going to navigate by default. That's the first screen that you see when you go into the website. So let's try it out. So if we go locally. Okay, so it would be, let's see, localhost React app. If we go to account, by default, is it running? Oh, it's not running. There you go. So it should by default go to the sign-in screen, right, where we can identify ourselves. Oops, network access error. Is the server running? Oh, it's not running. Not running. Let's run it here. Let's try again. Refresh. Okay. Why did it go to sign in? What's going on? Sign in. Oh, probably. Okay, I know why. Because the canvas is still not loading the account. So if you go to canvas, I don't believe we load the account. Right now is just, right, yeah, see that? It's just showing account hard-coded, so it doesn't load the account component. There we go. Account sign in. Oh, also this should be star. There we go. We're in sign in. Yeah, so oh, sign in. The URL for signing in. Oh, it's sign in without a space. Probably I added a space. Sign in. Okay, let's make this no space, and this one no space because we don't want that in our URLs. Sign in, sign out, and profile. Okay, so when we sign in, what we want to be able to do is, take the username and password and send it over to the server. All right. Sign in, implement profile. All right, let's see if it works. So if I say just gibberish, okay, so I don't think it's reporting an error just yet, but eventually we're going to have a report an error. So in profile, so right now it's just navigating to the profile, right? Not displaying anything just yet, right? Here in the profile, when we do display the profile, what we do is that we're going to go fetch the user who's logged in, right? That is in the state variable, right, in the server. right? We're going to retrieve that user so that we can know that somebody is logged in. Okay, so let's do that in right. Go back in the routes in the server. Right, looking at the user routes. And so we have here a sign in. Okay, it's doing that. All right, so that is working. We need to go implement the profile. Right, so let's implement the profile, which basically is just retrieving the user. Right, it's just retrieving the current user if someone's logged in. Right, it'll remember that. So let's go into the profile. Let's paste that in there. It just returns the current user. And then on the client side, we do need to go fetch for the profile, right? On load, we should kick off that profile and go fetch it. Okay. So in the client, in the account client, we go fetch for the profile, and in the profile, let's create a profile screen. The profile screen. So along with a sign in, we'll create a profile. And the profile, let's hard code the content that we're given. And this content, gives us data about the person who's currently logged in, their username, their password, their first name, their last name, role, right? So that when we log in, we show who they are, right? So if I go to sign in, and we do we have Alice? I forget if we have Alice. Profile. Oh, and then in the accounts, right? Instead of hard coding profile, we're going to load up the profile component instead of just hard coding it. Okay, there it is, right? So it was able to fetch Alice, who is logged in, right? And notice that if I refresh, right, it's always able to fetch Alice, right, back from whoever's logged in. Okay. Obviously, this doesn't look anything like what I gave you, but I'm asking you for you to style it so that it looks like that. You just need to apply some Bootstrap library classes, right, and it'll look like that. All right. Anyway, let's take a short break, and when we come back, right, we'll take a look at how is it that we can interact with the profile, implement some of the other screens such as sign up, logging out, right, and then we'll explore multiple users using cookies. All right, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. All right, so we just implemented being able to sign in, right, and then see our profile once we sign in, right, and based on the users that are available. For instance, this is Alice, right, and but I can also sign in as say Ironman with Stark123 as a password. So if I do sign in, say Ironman and Stark123, sign in, it fetches the user, right? And you have it here. And notice that if I refresh, right, it remembers the person who's logged in, right, in this screen. Let me clean this up a little bit. In the profile here, let me clean it up a little bit just to add some styling here, class, form, and maybe bring this over so that they're side by side. I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Right, and I can style each one of these. So I can add this class form to each one of these. That. And that one.